This episode of Now This Is Lit is brought to you by Audible. Check the link in the description to get your first Star Wars audiobook free. Everyone loves free things. Click that link. Do it. This show is also brought to you by our patrons. If you want to support the show in a different way, with just $1 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. You can get a sticker. You can get access to an exclusive show that we do every month that's wild and chaotic and fun and something you can only get by becoming a member of the Patreon. There'll be so many more perks very, very soon. But for now, do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker that has a Now This Is Lit logo? Because it's fantastic and I love them. But I also want to give them away because there's just a stack of stickers on my desk. So if you want one, $1 a month. Patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them, and the readers who just can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. For several years now, I have tried and continuously failed to not only interview Star Wars author Cavan Scott, but also simultaneously capture said interview on a recording. I tried once in 2022. Failed. Second time, 2024. Also failed. Neither of these times are my fault. Technology did not want me and Cavan Scott to have a conversation that went on any sort of record. I am so overjoyed to report I did it. Cavan Scott and I not only talked again, but you get to hear it this time. Enjoy. It's a short one, but a good one. All right, let's talk about the Jaws of Jakku, which I knew I was going to love before I listened to it, because these little Star Wars adventures have been delightful so far. And, for me, anytime you kind of tackle a project, I know that I'm probably going to enjoy it. And you always seem to somehow exceed my expectations every time. And it's good. It's good. I think, no matter how long a writer has been doing writing, I think over time they continue to get better and better and better. And it's cool. We love to see it.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So in the Jaws of Jakku, the story is about Rey. It features Rey and some other major sequel trilogy heroes. But the story is told from the perspective of a different character who is retelling this story after the fact, so that other people can listen to it. What do you think seeing Rey and these other characters from this different perspective adds to her character and also the Star Wars story as a whole?
Well, one of the reasons we went for that is I asked if we could tell the story through the eyes of a child, because these are in effect kids' books. They're aimed at a younger reader. They're all age. Anyone should be able to enjoy them, but they're specifically their first target is kids. And there aren't a lot of kids in Star Wars now. I started off actually 10 years ago now, scarily, and Star Wars, writing kids in Star Wars with the Adventures in Wild Space.
Yes.
So it's been a long time since I've had that window into the galaxy far, far away. So I specifically asked if we could do this. There's another personal reason as well, is that my girls are now 19 and 17, but when The Force Awakens came out, they were just the right age to meet Rey. Because for them, Rey is their Luke Skywalker, in the same way that Luke and Han and everyone mean so much to me as a kid of the 70s. Rey, Finn, Poe, definitely BB-8, mean the world to them. And so, again, it was sort of, there was a personal side of it for me of seeing the characters through their eyes, a kid's eyes, because that's what I saw when I went to the prequels. Oh, sorry, the sequels. in a way that I didn't have when I went to the prequels. So when the prequels came out, I was one of those angry older fans going, "What the hell is this? Yeah, how dare them write a story that isn't already in my head?" And so I didn't. It was only later, again through my kids largely, that I got to love the prequels as much as I do now. So the sequels, straight from the off, I saw it through their eyes, and it was a family thing, and my youngest daughter's room was a shrine to Chewie, as is right and
Oh,
proper. And I think she wanted to actually be raised by Chewie. I did point out that Chewie left his son for many, many years to go off and have adventures. So, maybe she was all right to be stuck with me. But yeah, so that was another reason. It was for me, I'd seen how kids respond to Ray. So I thought it was a good way into this story, especially at a time in Ray's life when she's perhaps not so sure who she is. I mean, so I think it's one thing that we can do in the sort of expanded universe when you could deal with the sequel characters is deal with those moments that they hint at in the films that Ray did struggle, but you don't see so much of it. I mean, she is incredibly rounded, and able to support everyone. We don't actually see her struggling that much, really, on screen. There are moments of it, but she's very self-assured. So I wanted to delve into those moments of what it's like to be taught by Leia Organa. What it's like to know that you were taught by Luke Skywalker, that you have this legacy on your shoulders. And so again, having her tell that story to a younger character, I thought was a good way of sort of passing the baton on to another generation. In the same way that we saw in The Last Jedi, we saw Broom Boy and all those kind of things. It was sort of tying back into those kind of feelings.
exactly. I was the perfect age for the prequels when they came out, and even
Mm.
now I forget sometimes
Mm.
that the magic of Star Wars is for everyone, but it is most important and most significant for the kids who are seeing it for the first time, for the
Yeah,
100th time. And you don't always think about that, even when you're reading a story that's aimed toward younger readers. But it's so important to the things I feel like we saw from Star Wars when we were younger are the things that stick with us the most.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
like I love the original trilogy, but for me, things from the prequels will always stick in my mind more just because that's the new Star Wars I saw. It was new for
Exactly
me, it
that.
was mine. Yeah. Oh,
And that's why, I mean, anyone who talks to me about Star Wars for long knows how much I love the Ewoks. And it was just, again, it's that thing of being a kid again, and not just the films, but the cartoons, coming home and watching the
yeah.
Ewoks cartoon. We love Star Wars because it does remind us of a time when we were kids and we loved adventure, and we loved all these amazing things that we were seeing every week. So yeah, I think it's always good to remind ourselves that when we're reading and experiencing Star Wars, and also when we're writing Star Wars. I mean, as just George Lucas said, it's for the 12-year-old in all of us. So
Yes.
um, I always try and um, I always try and remember that. And the great thing about Star Wars is that we do have Star Wars for every age. And I've been very fortunate over the last decade to write for all, a wide gamut, including now, for preschool in the Young Jedi Adventures, which I never thought I would be writing for that
Yes.
age group. But it's a responsibility, and it's a great honor to be able to write Star Wars for the wide spectrum of age groups of people who love it.
Yes. You've written many things inside Star Wars, outside of Star
Mm.
Wars. Um, you know, any given time you might be working on a lot of different things, or you're coming off of one project and starting another, it works differently for all of us.
Mm.
When you're sitting down to start to work on or come back to a project like this one, how do you kind of center yourself in the time and space in Star Wars that the story that you need to work on takes place in? Because when you're coming from a million different directions
Mhm.
and you need to think of this is where I am, this is the story, these are the characters, how do you kind of get into that space?
We're very lucky in Star Wars is that we have John Williams. I mean, we're lucky in Star Wars because we have John Williams in every aspect of Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, I use the soundtracks. I use music a lot. Um, and and even from when I'm writing something as sort of off the side as Jackson, the Big Green Rabbit, I go back to some sort of 70s cover versions of the theme that I've got, which are really cheesy and disco, and I listen to those. Um, I go back and listen to the original soundtracks a lot. I also listen to, I say, people having covers of them or doing new versions. There's a composer online called Samuel Kim who does
Yes.
sort of epic versions of things and medieval. So his medieval Star Wars themes were the soundtrack to a lot of the High Republic. And I have a big long playlist of his music, which I run on loop to get me back into the mood. So yeah, I mean, actually writing all the eras it's when you take a step back and you see them as a whole, you realize how similar everything is. So actually, it doesn't take that much to leap from era to era. Um, but yeah, the music's the easiest way. Yeah, I can go back and watch the films. I can go back and watch um, episodes of TV or whatever, or read comics. The trouble is, then I end up just sitting there watching films and TV and reading comics. So the music is a great shorthand for Star Wars. And then because I work in a lot of different franchises as well, it's a great way of changing gear. And if it's my own original stuff, I usually have a playlist of music that is within that tone. So I usually have one piece of music that's like the thing to tell my brain, right, you're here. But yeah, it's always music really that helps me shift gears.
I love that answer. And I think like when we're talking about writing and kind of like getting into the zone, so to speak, like I think everyone has to find that thing for them that kind of like gets them centered into like, okay, my brain now needs to know that I am working on a thing and I should do my best not to get distracted. And I think like music is a really good way, if you have a specific playlist or even a specific song to be like, okay, this is my brain's cue that this is what we're working on
Yes,
now. It's very effective, highly recommend. And
yes,
the Star Wars music is so important to what Star Wars is. That's just like
yeah,
the perfect way. It gets
yeah.
you, in the right headspace, but also just in the right mood. Like, yeah, I get to work on Star Wars. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
and because we have, the music has become so much part of the wider sort of fan community and creators. Usually, you can find a piece of Star Wars music that reflects the mood. From sort of like lo-fi right the way through to horror.
Yeah.
Someone has done a version of every theme from the films in that style. So, yeah, if you're writing something that's a bit more comedic, you can find music of that type. If you're writing something that's a bit more romantic, you can definitely find. I mean, yes, again, you just go back to Han and Leia's theme. But if you want to make yourself cry, you play the Force theme, as I've always discovered. So yeah, it's there's so much out there. It's such a joy, and it really helps.
It does. Speaking of the fact that you've kind of written all over the place
Mm,
within Star Wars over the last 10 years,
mm,
you've worked on not only many different kinds of projects, but all those projects are kind of like different lengths. And you'll write a
mm.
script for one thing and, a book for something else. What do you think is the most challenging thing about working on something like a 4 hour audio project, and something that might be longer?
It's interesting actually because I mean I love doing the 4 hour Audible
Mm.
originals just because they're a real sweet spot. You can tell a good story, hopefully a good story. You can get have some detail in there actually. It's you've got more space than a short story, um, but you're also not committing months of your life in the same way as writing a novel. So there is a certain it's fun being able to dip into something at that length. It's good for me. I don't know really. I mean, I suppose the trouble is you do have to stop. You know that you've got so many thousand words ahead of you, and with all these things, I mean, every novel you write, you always want to write more, and you have to cut back. So with these, you do have to realize. You have a finite amount of words, and so yeah. But again, because they're aimed at a slightly younger readership or listenership as the primary audience, that in itself gives you a sense of when, after you've been doing this for a while, you sort of go, well, it's a kid's story, therefore it's probably going to be about this length, and you know when it feels right. So yeah, it's I think the biggest change comes when you're going from novel length through to writing comics. When you go from 20 pages through to writing 100,000 words.
Yeah.
I think as I get older, I'm getting more and more comfortable with longer form stuff anyway, because my brain isn't able to switch gears as quickly as it used to be. And I'm enjoying it at the minute, settling in and writing longer form things. But yeah, I mean, each has its own challenges and each has its own joys. These stories at this level for the Audible stuff seem a nice sort of sweet spot, because I say that they're enough to get you stuck into some characters and things like that, and they're also quick enough and fresh enough to keep you going with them. And as a listener, my friend Justine Ireland, who worked with me on the High Republic, always says that if you want a quick read, if you're having a bath and you want to put something on, a kid's book's a really good choice, because you can be done in a few hours. And yeah, I think variety is the spice of life. And so I do like kids' books and younger readers for the fact that you can get a good story and it's there. You get through it nice and quickly, and then you can move on to something else. It's cool.
Yes, it is. So this came out in October. 2 of 3 issues of Tales from the Nightlands are out. Highly recommend that. If you have not read it, it's really good so far. I'm sure it will continue to be.
I was going to say the so far is worrying.
It will continue to be fantastic. Is there anything else upcoming, Star Wars, not Star Wars, that you can talk about that you would like to plug?
I don't think I can. I think this is one of those rare moments when I can't talk about anything else. There are things. Issue 3 of Nightlands comes out, and I mean that is linked in a way, because it's Rey, Finn, and BB-8, and a few other people, and Leia. And there is a reference in Nightlands to Jaws of Jakku, I think, if I can remember rightly. And yeah, so beyond that, time will tell, because I'm not allowed to.
That happens sometimes. This has been fantastic. I'm so glad that we got to chat about this very, very fast-paced but wonderful story. And can't wait for whatever else you have coming up. Star Wars, not Star Wars, all the things.
Yes, all the things, as always.
All the things. Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network. It is produced by Devor Montum and written, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. You can keep up with the show on Substack at Now This Is Lit, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many ways you can support the show, and all of those ways are linked in the show description. The newest way is to become a member of our Patreon. For $1 a month, you can get access to an exclusive show and a sticker. And if we get 500 people to support the Patreon per month, I can hire an editor. That would be great for me, and maybe for you too. So if you'd like to support the show with just $1 a month, you can do it that way. Or you can just keep listening and sharing the episodes. That is also helpful, and I appreciate it. For more book reviews and Star Wars Book Celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram and TikTok.